the allegations leveled against him by the mover of the motion, Kibwezi West Member of Parliament, Mwengi Mutuse. Gachagua says most of the property they say he has acquired in his 2-year stint as the second-in-command are property that were owned by his late brother, the first governor of Nyeri County, Nderitu Gachagua. And in fact, he says he was appointed by the late brother to be the executor of his will. And he himself was accorded 5% of the will by the late governor. Our question is, after that particular address to the country yesterday, what will be the outcome of the National Assembly, out of the National Assembly today? What will be the outcome that will come out of the National Assembly today, with the legislators expected to vote on whether to oust the second-in-command or not? He says he will be there from 5 to 7 to defend himself. And he said, if at all you expected that I will resign, I will not. Confidently saying he was elected by 7.2 million people. I pay much emphasis on that because he said he was elected by 7.2 million people and he's not going to resign. He will fight to clear his name. Now, joining me this particular morning to deliberate and talk more about that particular impeachment motion and this address to the country by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, like I said, is Mr. Kimani Mwangi, Mr. Wilson Sossion, and now joining me is Mr. Fred Okangwa. Very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for making time to be with us.
I appreciate.
Now, let me begin with you and go straight to it. The address by the Deputy President yesterday. From where you sit, a miscalculation or a masterstroke?
Thank you very much. Let me start from where all this began. The motion as tabled by Honorable Mutuse outlined the grounds of impeachment. That motion must be dispensed with within 8 days. And if you recall, over the weekend, the Deputy President attempted to apologize to the President, to the public, and to the members of Parliament. That was deliberate. Yesterday, he addressed the nation and tackled each charge from bottom up, if you recall. Now, there are two things. In my view, what the Deputy President was trying to do yesterday, he was trying to prepare his supporters because he knows the end. He knows that it is over for him. He knows that the members of Parliament will make a resolution today to move this motion to the Senate, the House of Trial. And he knows he is on his way out. However, he cannot leave lying low. He will fight. So the preparation he did to the public yesterday was to make them aware that even though I'm going to face the members of Parliament, this is my position. Remember, today from 5 to 7 he has 2 hours to be either represented by his advocates or by himself or by his or both to put a case. Those 2 hours might not be enough for himself to say what he said yesterday. So he needed to do what he did yesterday to set the stage. He has set the stage. And I can tell you, the Deputy President, his politics has been politics of defiance. And if you listen to him yesterday, there are certain statements he made. And he said, if that would make him be impeached, so be it. He made that statement 3 times. Then there are certain people he quickly, in a way, tried to implicate. He said some of these things he learned from his boss. Okay? Then he said that he will always defend what is right. When in the motion, the Deputy President is accused of insubordination. As the principal assistant to the President, by virtue of Article 147(7) and by virtue of Article 151, where he sits in the cabinet, the collective decisions by the cabinet binds him and others. He said that he was not going to be bound by the decision of the cabinet to protect Nairobi River. And he said that was not going to happen. It means that there are certain things that he believes in. And even though they were collective decisions, according to him, that was the right thing to do. I can tell you and I can predict that today, what we expect to see in Parliament is a different deputy president from yesterday. He will go there a calm person, but his lawyers his advocates will do the work for him. But having said that, I am persuaded that the public today would want to know what would be the evidence that the members of Parliament would be putting forward. Honorable Mutuse will be putting forward a team to counter what he said. Because remember, he tried to exonerate himself from all those allegations. In fact, every charge from charge 1 to charge 11, when he started from charge 11 going up, he tried to give his side of the story. I can predict that whatever he said will not matter today, because the impeachment of a state officer is more political than legal. The members of Parliament who put their signatures on that motion have made a decision that they have to remove him. They will remove him.
Okay, fair enough. Wilson Sosion, coming to you. Fred has talked about the issue of evidence and how the move of the motion, that is Kibwezi West MP Mwengi Mutuse, will seek to indeed prove that first on the issue of this property owned by Rigathi Gachagua is indeed true, because Gachagua said the motion alleges that 2 years after assuming office, he had amassed wealth and property which was valued at 5.2 billion. He says this is extremely outrageous. And he says this property, most of the properties, and in fact he mentioned the Vipingo Beach, he mentioned the Queen's apartment, he mentioned the apartments in Langata, as well as the Olive Gardens along Hurlingham. He said they belong to his late brother. And in fact, the Olive Gardens Hotel, they sold it. He was just executing his brother's will. And these properties do not belong to him in any way. So how now does it, how will Mwengi Mutuse prepare himself in defending and indeed proving that this property belongs to Gachagua?
I think at times we should not lose focus in this impeachment. And then we narrow down to one charge. There are 11 charges.
Yes, correct.
And those 11 charges will be prosecuted one by one.
Correct.
And if you are found guilty in any of the 11,
that's it.
And even if you are discharged in 10 of them, and you are found guilty in any of the 11, then you are impeached on the basis of a vote of at least 233. What we should focus on is institutionalizing the process of impeachment in this country.
We should not the issue of property, because amassing 5.2 billion in 2 years is something of great concern.
It's an allegation.
Yes.
Right. As of now, all the 11 charges are allegations in the facts and the basis of justice, because this is a process. There are 11 counts, and those counts were published for the public. The public have audited, and they've given their views. And the public views is not a referendum. It's supposed to be a qualitative and quantitative collection of public views. And I believe Parliament has collected a report on the same. And when Mutuse moves, he will be moving the motion on and proving all the 11 counts, including this one of acquisition of wealth. Because in terms of acquisition of wealth, in terms of public officers, if you acquire very strange, astronomic wealth within a short time, it becomes a matter of audit. In fact, if you go to jurisdiction like Saudi Arabia, if your account is questioned within a short time, it shall stand frozen. And that's how serious it is in dealing with corruption measures. So that's one item that points towards corruption, and Mutuse will have to prove to the National Assembly. And I think the National Assembly members believed that the 11 counts was so serious that as a country that we want to change the bearing of governance to good governance, governance that the people can believe in, then 291 of them signed the impeachment motion. So I think what Kenyans should do now, let's be patient and allow Honorable Mutuse and the National Assembly to apply their minds on the impeachment application. And Honorable Rigathi will have an opportunity to defend himself. And I don't think it is right to set up precedents where we use unconventional means to try and undermine impeachment. Like, of course, the long media coverage yesterday, it would be so prejudicial to the standing orders. If you are summoned to the National Assembly to give submission as a witness, you don't create other forums to try and preempt the matters for which you've been invited for. In fact, you bastardize the entire process of impeachment. And I want to say here, impeachment is a tool that has come of age. The chicks have come home to roost in this country with respect to impeachment. Impeachment has not been used by Kenyans, and it should not be seen as strange. And impeachment targets individuals who have engaged in gross misconduct, violated the laws, and messed up governance. And I think impeachment is something that then should be used very effectively by Kenyans within the confines of the law and the Constitution. And you are impeached on the basis of facts. Okay. It's really on the basis of facts. So I think narrowing down to one item, which should not mask all the other items.
It's interesting.
All the 11 counts matter, and the country shall need answers through the National Assembly. Okay. From the 11 of them, and it is on the basis of the prosecution of the matter and how the Deputy President will defend himself, that will determine how the members of Parliament shall vote. Right now, we cannot predict how the members of Parliament shall vote. It depends on how the matter is prosecuted. So there are two expectations. Either the Parliament shall find sufficient reason, even in any one of them, because the voting shall be item by item. So if you are found guilty, if Rigathi is found guilty in any one of them, and when you throw a telescope, he cannot escape. In any one of them, and it musters 233 votes, or at least, then he stands impeached by the National Assembly. Fair enough, and the matter shall move to the next level. So
fair enough. Now, coming to you, Mr. Kimani Mwangi,
yes,
we've talked about the issue of, this property. Even as you tell me what you make of, his decision to address the country, Mr. Session says it was not the right move to make. I don't know from where you sit whether that was the right way to go, because he says before members of Parliament hear from him, Kenyans do have a right to hear from him because they, an emphasis on this, elected him. So do you think it was ill-advised or the right move?
They say that a drowning man will clutch at straws because in one way or another he has to save himself. And it is quite dangerous for the Deputy President because he allowed the matter to escalate to where he has no control over the verdict of the end of the process. Yesterday was an attempt in achieving three things, in my opinion. One, he came out to whip the emotions of the people. By so doing, he earned their sympathy. People look at him as a man being persecuted, not for the wrongs he's done, but for the stand he's taken on matters governance of the Republic. By so doing, he's seeking to emotionally blackmail the MPs through the masses who elected them. Now they will feel as if he's trying to make them feel guilty. It's like we did not interrogate this motion well before we appended our signatures. Now he's putting doubt into them in a bid to get the numbers reduced. Remember, there are those who signed, especially from Mount Kenya, and after a while they started changing their stand. Some saying, I'm not going to support the motion in as much as I appended my signature. So what the Deputy President came out to do yesterday was to appeal for sympathy, by so doing emotionally blackmail MPs so that he can have these numbers reduced in attempt to see whether the numbers will reduce to beyond 233 so that he can thwart the motion at the National Assembly. But he also achieved one thing that is very dangerous. The insistence that he was elected by 7.2 million people is very dangerous. It talks of an entitled deputy president who considers himself an elected member of the presidency. The question lingers, is he elected or is he nominated by the president to the ticket to be joined together with the president to the ticket that those sought power? Number two, when you consistently refer to yourself as somebody elected by 7.2 million people, whom you think ought to hear your side of the story even before the members of parliament hear it, you are firstly seeking to elevate the people, and by so doing, you are seeking also to diminutively refer to the National Assembly, and by insisting you are elected in a way, you are again trying to tell the president who you are and where you stand on these issues. And when you tell us that you made money in the Kibaki regime when things were working, are you telling us things are not working and you are a deputy president of a republic who insists to remain the member of the presidency? You have an economy that is not working. So, and then you go on to enumerate your wealth and the wealth of your children to a point where we are all wondering, we are so poor in the eyes of this man. If his sons can walk into a bank and borrow a loan of 600 million, while we struggle to borrow a loan of 1 million with all our hard work, then what are you telling the people? So in my opinion, he achieved and lost at some point. He achieved by succeeding to make the people feel pity for him, but again he lost on continuing to anger the National Assembly, on whose fate lies today.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough. Mr. Okamo, it's interesting because Mr. Kimani Mwangi has brought the point of things not working. Was it a deliberate move in trying to, throw a jibe at the President Ruto administration? Because for him to say he left the public service for the private sector for 15 years, since 2002, before being elected as a member of parliament for Madira constituency in 2017. And he said, some of you are unlucky because you were not there at that time, but he was a successful businessman in the time of President Mwai Kibaki because things were working then. Is that in a way saying things are not working now and throwing his boss under the bus and the entire government?
Let me tell you, the deputy president, I think from yesterday, people learned, the public learned that he's not actually a hustler. He's a very rich man. By the standards of anything, he is a very rich man because he paraded his wealth on a national TV for 2 hours. Number two, that is what we call political suicide bombing, where it's a Samson complex, I go down with everyone. But you have asked a very important question. The deputy president is a state officer. And the authority assigned to a state officer must be exercised in a certain manner that is consistent with the Constitution. The authority assigned to a state officer like the deputy president must be exercised in a manner that respects the office that he holds, must be exercised in a manner that respects the people of Kenya, must bring honor and dignity to the same people and integrity. Going by what he did yesterday alone, this is a person who took oath of office and affirmation of execution of function of that office. So what he did yesterday, he tried to say that actually he is in this government, but this government, compared to previous government that he has seen and he has been around, this government is the worst. That's what he said. Number two, he said that things have worked for him before. While here, the wealth that he has, he made it before. But in this government, since he took office, he has not made any wealth. And therefore, this government, things are not working. That's number three. Number two. Number three, the deputy president said that this motion got the nod of the senior-most state officer in the country, who is the president. And therefore, he went after the president and said, you know what? It is his boss who actually gave the go-ahead. So he's ready for war. But let me tell you, the deputy president has been accused of violation of the provisions of the Constitution. He has been accused of serious reasons to believe that he has, he has committed national crimes under the acts. He has also been accused of gross misconduct. In my view, the deputy president yesterday extended the gross misconduct beyond the motion. And if the motion was to be adjusted, if it was that room, then they would have adjusted it to add what he did yesterday. What I'm trying to tell you is that yesterday, the deputy president actually affirmed that he is working in a government that he doesn't like. He affirmed that he is working for the people of Kenya, but he is not happy. He affirmed that he is in this government, but is on his way out, and therefore he will leave after he has messed it. I want to remind the public that when somebody at the level of a state officer, and the deputy president for that matter, who enjoys the benefits of a dignified office like the deputy president, you know, the deputy president is a heartbeat away from the presidency. And therefore, when he says some of these things, how do we imagine? I want you to imagine this thing. Assuming that today in the afternoon, the members of parliament do not achieve the constitutional threshold of making a resolution, the 233, to make a resolution for this matter to move to the Senate. You know that motion will end there. It means the deputy president will remain in office. Assuming. How will we go back and sit in the same cabinet chaired by President William Ruto, the cabinet members, and one of the witnesses, who is the secretary of the cabinet, seated there? How will they relate? I know people can forgive each other, but look at yesterday what the deputy president did. Even if he was to be forgiven for the previous things he has done, yesterday, I don't think there's anyone who can forgive yesterday. He has made and disparaged the president. He has disparaged the state officers like NIS boss. He has disparaged his own government. He has disparaged the people of Kenya by displaying wealth and telling them, you know what, I was not born a poor person. I am a rich person.
Fair enough, Mr. Okango. On that note, we just take a brief break and I'll be back to continue this conversation, especially in regards to the gross violation of the Kenyan Constitution, national or international laws in regards to Rigathi Gachagua amid the impeachment that looms. That will be after this break. Don't go away.
When it's a Saturday, there's only one entertainment show